Here we have our little GANS harvesting station. GANS is a gas in a nano state. So what we're doing is we're harvesting three types of GANS, the CH3, the CO2 and the CuO. These GANS will be used in combination to coat our coils for our Magrav unit. Also they'll be filled with the central sun, and also they'll go into the capacitors. So we need quite a bit of this. And to produce the GANS, you need salt water. So we've got about 3/4 full salt water in these buckets. We live near the ocean, so my wife went down with the kids and got some ocean water. If you don't, some sea salt that you buy from the store, and water works fine too. So each bucket we've got a couple of metal rods running across, which suspend in the salt water our nano-coated copper plate, which is connected with a wire to our iron, which is a rusty nail, and that's the CH3. The CO2 suspended on the left is the nano-coated copper, again connected to this chunk of zinc. Try not to use zinc plated, try to get solid zinc, otherwise it'll eat it away quite fast. That's the CO2. CuO is nano-coated copper plate connected again with the wire to a copper sheet. To speed up production, we have a small amount of current running in and tying on to the CO2 and the CuO. The CH3 turned quite fast, so it didn't need it, so we just sped these ones up with about 2 volts, 1 amp. What works well is an old cell phone charger. Strip off the ends and attach. Could also use a D cell battery, tape on some wire to each side and attach it. Seem to burn through these batteries quite fast, so don't recommend it, but if it's all you have, that works fine. If you're going to speed up production, you want to get one of these aquarium pumps, which oxidizes the GANS. See how we have it coming in at the bottom of your nano-coated sheet, which really helps. And if you look close at this nano sheet, you'll see the nano atomic layers converting to GANS. All the GANS at the bottom of the bucket here. So the nano copper sheet loses its nano coating when it gets converted. And if you see how it's totally taken away the nano coating, so you'll need to replace these sheets every day or so. Once you've got enough GANS, then we're ready to wash it. So, we're going to wash the GANS. We're going to pour off the salt water. And we're going to try to keep the GANS, majority of the GANS, in these buckets as possible. If there's a little bit of GANS that pours off into our other bucket, it's okay, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to let that settle, and then I'll again pour off the salt water and keep, filtering it so that I contain majority of the GANS without wasting it. The salt water can be used for other applications, just as well as the washed GANS water can be used for different health purposes, and for your plants it can be sprayed on. Like most things with the Keshe, the old copper that we use, the old nano coating, the cold caustic, we can reuse all of this stuff for other projects. So yeah, I'm going to pour off the first one into this big holding container, and trying to keep most of the GANS in, but again, if some spills into here, I'll pour it off again and again. So try not to move the bucket too much to stir up the GANS. Try to keep it nice and steady. So now we can let this settle, and then we can do the same again, pour off the salt water, and that way we can collect as much as we can. Now we need to rinse it with some purified water. Just going to give it a splash in here. I'm just going to try to get it all off the sides of the containers. Give it a little swirl. Now I'm going to let this settle and pour off this GANS water. And we'll do it about 4 times. I'm just going to pour it off into these jars, and I'm going to let it settle. And then I can pour it back in here, and I can have these as my holding stations for the washed GANS water. Just they're a little bit bigger. So now that it's settled down, the GANS is at the bottom, we can pour off into the containers and we can do another wash. So try to stir it up again, nice and slowly. You can let it settle again. You could use a syringe to remove the water, or a turkey baster. So I've just let this one settle again, just because it's still got quite a bit of water in there, so pour it off again. Okay. So that needs to settle down, and we're going to do it 4 times. 4 of these washes into the buckets. We're keeping all the water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wedge up these buckets. So all the water that goes in there, the GANS will settle at this very bottom corner. And I could just, with my syringe or turkey baster, remove all that GANS quite easily and then wash it again 4 times. So now we have the GANS in the jars. I'm going to put into this dish so that we can dip and coat our coils. We can mix all this together to make a soup or a soupy consistency.